Welcome to Tiddle Bits of History.
Hello, and welcome to Tiddle Bits of History, where you learn stuff that you don't need to know, but probably want to know anyway. So, these are the little installments I plan to do from my house instead of in the field, hence the reason why I'm sitting here. But I wanted to do something where you just have a couple minutes where we tell little history stories, little history tidbits on things. And so today I want to tell you about how people lived and entertained themselves before you had television and the internet and all that stuff that entertain us today, children, adults, etc. Back in the day, they tried to do anything that would entertain them, and they would have community dances, they would have community forums where they would sit and talk. For kids and things, they'd get together, play games, but on the other hand, they would play tricks on each other. There's a lot of activity that occurred where they would play little tricks or for firecrackers at people, or they would even sometimes disassemble a neighbor's wagon and put it on top of their barn roof, just for the orneriness of it all, because they didn't have anything else to do. But one thing I want to highlight here tonight is the ability of people to write back then, and entertainment through jokes and stories and poems and things like that were really, really big. So even small, kids or whatever would write their own either stories or poetry and things like that, and then they would tell it to people. That was a form of their entertainment. And a perfectly good example of this actually comes from a local man named S. Tidd Byron, from his book that he wrote that talks about when he was a kid and his family, who owned the Mercersburg tannery during the turn of the 20th century and beyond. But Tidd Byron wrote a book, and he told many of his adventures, and one of them is very interesting in the relevance of today, or today's Tiddle Bits of History, in which he wrote a poem that was quite entertaining, and again was put in his book for the entertainment of himself as I imagine, an adolescent, and for his brothers, sisters, and everybody else, but not necessarily to the amusement of his father. And I shall read it right now. So again, a local piece of history from the turn of the 20th century. The March winds that blow like hell on the go have many times caused consternation. But think of the fright that terrible night our toilet blew off its foundation. 'Twas propped on the lee and tied to a tree, and had weathered some terrible blows. But a visit of Pop's unloosened her props, and over she went on her nose. A scream in the night advised of his plight, and out we all rushed to console him. Jackknifed to his knees, his rear to the breeze, 'twas all we could do to unhole him. It rests there today, Pop said, let her lay. It makes a nice fort we can play in. Pop's using his head goes back to the shed, and on cold windy nights we just stay in.
And that has been a Tiddle Bit of History.